Hey bro, there was once quite recently actually, I had this really productive morning. I had done my morning routine, I meditated, I did a cold shower, I did several hours of high quality work in the morning, I scripted a video, I recorded two videos and uploaded them. Then, after lunch, I was going to start on my schoolwork. I take out my chemistry tutorial, my homework, and I discipline myself to literally sit down in front of my desk, take out everything I need, and to just show up and do the work. But suddenly, I felt this massive, sharp drop in my motivation, and I had to drag and force myself through doing the questions on the tutorial. I had to use sheer willpower rather than just being kind of excited, kind of motivated to do the work. After I did several questions, I found myself just opening up my laptop and just doing irrelevant tasks like checking my email and my WhatsApp. And I was like, wait, what the hell is wrong with me? I am like this disciplined, productive guy who literally reads books on his way back from home. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day to script videos, and then immediately after I take a cold shower and I journal. The only thing I watch on YouTube nowadays is full length unedited podcasts, which is literally some expert scientist or millionaire talking to the camera for like 2-3 hours straight. So why the hell am I unable to sit down and do this simple fucking chemistry tutorial that should take me honestly less than an hour to finish? I'm telling you this story because I've dealt with a lot of motivation issues, especially in academic work, especially in the afternoon, ever since 2020 when I was in secondary 1. I had the discipline to literally put myself in front of the work that I had to do, to just show up, to prepare everything I needed to do my work, making it as frictionless as possible to start work. But when I start doing the work, I just don't feel like doing it. I don't want to continue. I just can't do the work. And you're probably facing the same issue, right? Alright, so clearly this is not a discipline issue. It is a motivation issue. And we need to fix that. And there'll be guys on the internet who say like, oh, motivation is bullshit. And that's because their problem, their bottleneck is discipline, not motivation. So yeah, maybe they should focus on discipline, but different people have different bottlenecks. And if you can relate to the story and things I just said, your bottleneck is probably more motivation and not so much discipline. Or maybe you're lacking in both motivation and discipline, who knows? So if you want to sharply increase the motivation, you have to do the work. Keep watching. The reasons why you're not motivated. Okay, so there are three possible common reasons for why you don't feel motivated to do the work. First reason, you do work immediately after eating a meal. We all know the concept of carb crash or food coma, and honestly, it's really obvious that all your energy just goes to shit immediately after a meal, and you get like brain fog because all the blood in your brain gets sent to your digestive system or whatever. And you can literally feel the sudden energy dip where after a meal you feel like lazing around and not doing your work. So your actionable step is simple. Do your work immediately before your meals. Never delay it to after your meals. I mean, you can probably relate to having to do some big task or work, but then you're kind of hungry and then you don't feel like doing the work. And all the bullshit conditioning from society makes you think like you're less productive when you're hungry. So you actually decide to have a big meal first and you delay the task to after the meal. And then you realize that you feel even shittier after the meal and you feel even less like doing the work. So always finish your tasks before your meals, never after. Have a work block before every meal of the day or don't have a work block at all. Yes, that's right, this includes breakfast. And I want to go back to what I said earlier about how being hungry affects your productivity. Here's the real truth. Being fasted, being hungry while doing the work actually makes you more productive and improves your focus because it awakens a kind of primal instinct to hunt and to chase, to complete tasks quickly and efficiently before you starve. Pretty much every millionaire skips meals to do work for that productivity boost. And some of them, a lot of them actually, literally only eat one meal a day when they are in a certain mode of working very hard on their business. And you don't have to go that extreme to skipping your meals if your work doesn't require it. But just keep in mind that working before a meal is always much better than after. For example, right now it's been 4 hours since I've woken up and I haven't eaten a single meal yet. I've been just scripting and recording videos because this is the time period at which I am most productive and focused. The second reason you're not motivated to do the work is that you waste your mental energy. So basically, every morning when you wake up, you have a certain level of like mental energy to use for your tasks throughout the day. But every small action you do, every small decision you make during the day, or every thought that you have will slowly start to drain this mental energy. And you need a certain required level of mental energy to do a certain task, depending on how hard it is. And if you don't have that required level, you just won't be able to do the work. To make this easier to understand, we can represent mental energy with a certain number of brain points. Let's just give a random number, like say you have 50 brain points when you wake up. Of course, it depends on how well you slept and your general health. But let's say you have 50 brain points per day for now. So you wake up, you got your 50 brain points. What's the first thing you do in the morning? Be honest. You pick up your phone, right? You pick up your phone and immediately, just from seeing the notifications from Instagram or WhatsApp or whatever in the morning, you lose one brain point. Maybe you decide to open the notifications from Instagram or WhatsApp and you start replying to messages or scrolling on social media. Boom, you lose 5 more brain points. And then you finally get out of bed. Now you have to decide what to eat for breakfast, what to wear for school, make a bunch of these micro decisions, etc. 2 more brain points lost. Okay, you go to school, you try to pay attention in class, you lose like 20 brain points, but it's like fine because you're forced to do it and you have to listen in class to maintain your grades. And then during your break time, you have to decide what to eat again, -1 brain point. Then you start talking to one of your friends, -3 brain points, and then suddenly someone comes by and says something slightly mean about you, or you start overthinking about something that happened in the past or something that's gonna happen in the future. Boom, 5 more brain points lost. Alright, so you are dismissed from school, you go home, and on the way home maybe you lose like 5 more brain points from scrolling on social media or gaming or I don't know, watching anime on your phone. And then you get home, you try to sit down and do the work task. But this work task requires, let's say, 10 brain points. But you are only left with 8 brain points. I hope my calculation is correct. So obviously, you can't do the work. So a lot of the things that drain your brain points, like I mentioned above, is probably going to take some time to eliminate, especially if your mental health isn't that good. And some things like social interaction probably shouldn't be eliminated in the first place. So you just have to kind of keep this scarcity mindset for your mental energy and make sure to be mindful of it and conserve it for the more important tasks of the day. And if you are paying attention and if you are quite intelligent, you would have noticed that there's actually 2 simple ways to conserve your brain points for the more important task. First thing you can do, make tomorrow's decisions today. At the end of every day, and it's important to do this at the end of your day, start making tomorrow's decisions today. Like what you should eat tomorrow, what you should wear, exactly what work are you gonna do and when, what habits you're gonna do and when you should do it, etc. So that you don't have to make those decisions tomorrow. Because if you make those decisions tomorrow, you'll probably be making those decisions before the important work tasks. So your brain points are drained and they are not reserved for those work tasks. Second, and this is the most important one, the greatest way to conserve your brain points for the more important tasks is to just do the more important tasks first as early as possible. Do anything you can to do the more important tasks of the day first. You can do it during school, in between periods, and during breaks. You can stay back in school after dismissal to quickly finish it in the afternoon. If you want to go extreme, you can wake up an hour earlier in the morning to do the most important tasks so that it's literally the first thing you do in the morning. Don't do this if you're gonna sacrifice your sleep. But yeah, that's the single best way to go about it, because your number of brain points will only slowly decrease as the day progresses, and also you start to lose your focus and your productivity and you get more tired as the day progresses. Not all hours of the day are made equal, my friend. So your actionable step is to keep the scarcity mindset for mental energy. In the morning and the afternoon, finish your work. In the evenings, make tomorrow's decisions today. You can literally use like a notes app or a piece of paper for this and just write down the decisions you made for tomorrow anyhow you want. It's not that deep, just write it down. The final reason you don't feel motivated is because the work you're doing is just not meaningful or purposeful. Like literally, when you sit down and you study chemistry or do your math assignment or something, do you genuinely feel like what you're doing has meaning and is making a positive impact on the world? I mean, you can use logic and say like, oh, but education will make me a contributing member of society in the future. Yay! But when you do your work, you don't feel that way. You don't have this frequency, this hum in your heart and your mind telling you that you are doing something meaningful and purposeful. Like when I record and script these videos, I get that feeling. So when you work on your academics or whatever, your brain already knows that what you're doing is fucking useless and meaningless. So obviously you're not gonna be that motivated. On the other hand, if your work does give you that feeling of doing something, making an impact, you will be motivated as fuck. You'll wake up at 5 a.m. every day to work on it, just like me. So there's no actionable step for this part, unfortunately, because you can't really do anything about your work not being purposeful. You still gonna have to study, right? So the solution would be to boost the level of motivation you have just in general, so that for every task that you do, both purposeful or not purposeful, you will have more motivation. And the way we do this is by leveraging the motivation chemical, aka dopamine. Alright, so you've heard about dopamine on the internet, but you don't want to watch some fucking 3 hour Andrew Huberman podcast to learn about it. So I'll tell you the two most effective habits I learned that will greatly boost your dopamine baseline, which is basically the amount of dopamine in general. And this will directly translate to having greater motivation in general. Oh yeah, by the way, side note, the best thing you can do to boost your dopamine is actually to improve your sleep, but I made so many videos on sleep, so for this video I'll be talking about other strategies. Strategy 1. The solution to afternoon fatigue. You know, in the afternoon when you have a sudden drop in your energy levels for some reason. For some people it's due to food coma, for others it just happens and you literally cannot do any work at all. You just end up wasting your afternoon on social media and video games and whatnot. And maybe you want to take a nap, but you can't take a nap because you're unsleepy. Or you know your naps take way too long and waste too much of your time and maybe also ruin your sleep. Guess what? I found the solution to this one very specific problem. Your actionable step is every afternoon when you feel this sudden dip in energy, do what's called the non-sleep deep rest protocol. NSDR is also known as Yoga Nidra. There's a really good 10-minute one by Andrew Huberman, which I'll link in the description below. What this basically does is that it acts as a nap replacement. It boosts your dopamine levels for 24 hours. It increases your mental energy, aka it increases your brain points, which is fucking massive. It also improves your sleep. You do this by just listening to the thing, put on your earphones, and then lying on a bed, preferably in a dark room, and try not to move at all unless told otherwise. Basically, the same conditions as if you were actually trying to sleep. Strategy 2: the solution to morning fatigue. So, every day you wake up and you feel tired and unmotivated already. Simple solution, your actionable step. Every morning, take a cold shower. Turn the shower to the coldest setting, stand in front of it, and turn it on. You should really try to get that shock of cold water hitting your body, because that will not only, number one, wake you up, obviously, but it will also, number two, sharply increase your dopamine baseline and your motivation for the rest of the day. I hope you found this video helpful. Please give me any criticism and feedback in the comments, and I wish you a good day.